Welcome back to another episode of Rob Sports Center, man. As you can see by the title and by the thumbnail, today we're gonna be studying some film on James Cook. So the very first play, we have two things going on. For one, we have a gotta have a situation. It's a third and long, 3rd and 11, and we got to get the first down in order to move the stick, especially if we behind on the scoreboard like they are here. So what's one of the things I always talk about? I always talk about being able to play on script and being able to play off script. So I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna give an example for that again. What I mean by that, this play is an example of that, but let me give you a definition of it. So when I say being able to play on script, playing on script means that whenever we practice these plays, we're practicing, especially if we're practicing them on air. We're practicing these plays um in the sense that they're going to be executed exactly the same way in the game, that nothing prohibits that. And what could prohibit that? A timely call defense, whether you're able to get pressure up front, whether they're able to get you on a blitz, and you got to kind of get away from the game plan. Now, can you still be able to play off script? So James Cook, Buffalo shows a good job at that period here, but James Cook shows he's able to do it as well, because you look right there, it looked like initially he was just going to give Josh Allen a check down option, and Josh Allen don't even look like he was looking for Cook originally, but Cook understood the situation and what's taking place now, right? I see that they got pressure on us. I'm seeing that, okay, either he's sacked, he's not sacked, okay, he's moving up now. Let me maneuver and try to put myself in a good position, because obviously the defense is going to be focused on rallying to Josh Allen because they know that he can run, especially in a gotta have it situation. James Cook is able to be on point with that as well, and is able to give Josh Allen a target to throw at for them to actually get that first down. And then you got to think about it like this. Think about, as a defense, how demoralizing that is, right? You play defense good. You do everything right on the previous downs, the first down, the second down. All y'all need to do, y'all got them in a 3rd and long. How many teams are actually going to convert a 3rd and long, a third and forever situation, and they're able to convert that there? So that just sucks the life out of a defense. So right here we have another gotta have a situation. So it really wasn't nothing just too extravagant in terms of what took place on this. Was just like, for me, the biggest thing was just like when we talk about game changers, right? So game changers are those guys, those go-to guys, like I say, in those gotta have a situations when we need a play to be made. Who are we going to? And that just shows you on this play, just as well as the previous play on the other 3rd and long, that James Cook is that guy. You see there in the 4th and 3. This is a gotta have a situation. We have to get the conversion in order for us to be able to keep our offense on the field, in order for us to be able to capitalize, put up points, because we're going for this. And if we don't get it, then now we lose the option of even being able to put 3 points on the board. So it just shows you the trust that the team has, that the coaching staff and the team has, to be able to call up these plays and call up number 4, James Cook's number, whenever they need a play to be made. So another category that I need to start putting a little bit more emphasis on, especially when this can go for both breaking down offensive players and defensive players, if you want to be honest, and that's explosive plays. So when I say defensive players, it's to how many explosive plays do you minimize. So if you're a corner, if they're throwing a ball down the field on you, 20-yard, 30-yard bombs down the field, are you the one winning those matchups 9 times out of 10? And if that's the case, then you're being able to prevent those big explosive plays. So for this video right here, specifically for James Cook, offensively, we're going to look at that. And he shows that right here. It wasn't no gotta have it situation, but then it also shows you the margin in terms of games being won and lost. A lot of times it goes to a few things, which are 3rd down success, turnovers, and explosive plays. So he did a good job at being able to capitalize. So he just shows really, honestly, too, breakout speed and separation, being that the safety kind of did had an angle on him. If you look up front, that was just good blocking. They had a double team block on a defensive lineman, and he just shot that hole and ran with it. And even if you look at number 21, he kind of already started off in front of him, and he still was able to outrun him. So that just shows you the acceleration that he has as well. So another aspect of Cook's game too, I think, is kind of underrated, is his power and his balance. You see a good example of that right here. I think a lot of the times whenever you looking at Cook, you kind of get so caught up in the speed, rightfully so, just seeing him being able to accelerate against those defenses. But he's also good at being a power runner when he needs to be. So that means, like I say, those are those tough downs, those tough yardage, those 3rd and 3s, those 3rd and shorts, those 4th and shorts, when we need some power. We need somebody who can be able to help with more moving the line of scrimmage. He can do that as well. He showcases that right here, being able to kind of slip away from this defensive lineman right here. And how not too many people are going to be able to slip away from a defensive lineman, especially one that's that size. So he does a good job at being able to make him miss, slip out of that tackle, and then being able to make this guy miss on the second level right here. Boom. Was able to make him miss and was able to get a few more yards after contact. So right here, he showcases the versatility. And when I say versatility, I'm pretty sure a lot of people kind of look at Cook more so a speed back opposed to actually being a power back that can run in between the numbers. So he showcases that right here with a good power run in between the numbers. And another thing too, I heard Coach Belichick talk about when it comes to running backs. One of the things that you have to look at when it comes to evaluating running backs, he was like, what can you do on your own? And that kind of goes back to what I was saying about being able to play off script when things don't go as planned. Can you still be effective? And he does a good job at that, just being able to, kind of power through, because the blocking wasn't necessarily the best that it could have been on this play, because you had a couple people that had shots at him. You had the defensive lineman right there, boom. Then you had these guys right here, boom. The average person, the average back for the most part probably would have been stopped back where they was at. And if not, then they probably would have been stopped right there. You had three guys, but he was able to, like I said, once again, stay balanced, stay on his feet and power through and get able to get the ball in the end zone for 6 points. So on this play right here, he's taking a snap from a shotgun. So once again, he showcases what he can do on his own. The blocking was good. It held up for as good as it could do. If the blocking was really horrible, like I was saying at first, then he wouldn't have even made it that far. So the blocking held up for what he can hold up for him to get what he got. But then he also was able to make something happen afterwards. Like I said, once again, that's kudos to his strength and his balance. Being able to, run through those tackles and being able to stay on your feet, even when guys are nudging you like they did on this play and a couple plays earlier. And then the thing about defending a back like James Cook, he's those type of backs that stopping him isn't a one-man task, pretty much. That's a whole team effort, meaning that whenever the ball is in his hands, we have to rally as a defense. We need to make sure that the best way we can, that we have 11 hats pursuing the ball every time he has the ball, because if more times than not, if your ball pursuit isn't the best and he's able to get a one-on-one matchup and we've seen sometimes even 2-on-1, more times than not, he's going to come up victorious. So right here, we got a red area possession with James Cook and the Buffalo Bills. And right here, man, he just showcases his physicality to me. One of the things I heard a commentator say, and they were right about it, is that he's very good at seeing those holes and just accelerate and hit those holes with, 0% fear. So you see right here, he had the safety that was right there waiting on him. Now, if the safety would have been a little bit more aggressive and not waiting for Cook to get to him and going to go meet Cook, he possibly could have made a play on this ball. Now, he didn't. He allowed Cook to come to him, which allowed Cook to bring the fight to him as well as the other guy. He just completely knocked his helmet off. I wish I should have left the impact the sound that it made from the impact with him trucking that guy and running that guy over, because that was one hell of a thud. But like I said, once again, man, this is a very underrated skill of his. This is a very underrated tool that he has in his tool belt, is his physicality and his toughness. So right here, we have another gotta have a situation, a 3rd and 7. And once again, man, James Cook showed you what can you do on your own skills on this play right here. So obviously, the up front initially, man, Indiana had that pretty much bottled up. Like right here, boom, initially that was a stop. That was a stop, right? Now, when you're dealing with a guy like this, those guys that, like I say, just those game changers, man, those playmakers, it's not enough sometimes. They did a good job at initially stopping it. But once again, physicality, his strength, his toughness, his balance, all of those things were shown on this play right here, being able to stay on his feet initially while being hit by 3 different guys. Boom. Being able to stay on his feet initially while being hit and being able to pick up a little bit more after that. And then being able to still kind of being able to pull past number 20, trying to grab a hold to his shoulder pads and maximize on the yards gained, that the yards that he could have gained on this play. So it went from looking like this play was going to be a disaster to this play being an explosive play made down the field. Another thing, like plays like this, that I think a lot of people don't really look at, is the mental aspect of it. And what I mean by that, on the defense, right? You get them into a position where they're on 3rd and down. In this situation, they were 3rd and 2. We've bent, but we haven't broken yet. So it looks like we have him stop initially. We thought we did, but he was able to bounce off and make a play after that. So just think about how taxing mentally that is on the defense, to be feeling like y'all about to get ready to get off the field. And then if y'all was able to get off the field from this position, that wasn't even a field goal. And if so, that was going to be a hard field goal. But he's able to bounce off of our initial rush and go and pick up yards afterwards. And now that keeps us on the field, and now that puts us in a position to where even if we do stop them on this next drive, they still walk away with 3 points if the kicker is able to make the field goal. Once again, we got another red area possession. James Cook showcases that physicality, that dog in him right here on this play right here, man. This is kind of really another example of one of those plays. What are you able to do on your own? Kansas City got penetration pretty good up front for the most part. And they kind of did a good job at, like how I said in the previous clip, where the guy with a safety, he didn't come down to try to meet him. He allowed James Cook to come to him and bring the fight to him. But in this situation right here, it shows you he can do it both ways. He can do it when he got to bring the fight to you, and he can also do it when you got to bring the fight to him. So, man, just good physical running right here, man, is to be able to just bounce off of that safety's hit, and on top of not just the safety hit, man, the safety hit him, and then you had the other guys coming from right there, man. Now, they could have probably did a better job, especially the second guy, just trying to tie him up, wrap up his legs, if anything, to try to slow him down. But right here, man, once again, man, he just showcases his strength and that balance to be able to stay on his feet. So he's been showcasing his dual threat ability. And what I mean by his dual threat ability, he's been showcasing that whenever it calls for him to be a power runner, he can run powerfully. Whenever it calls for him to be a breakaway runner, he can break away. And on this play right here, he does a good job at being able to break away from the defense. But what was another category that I told you guys a lot of the times that fall underneath games won and lost? That's explosive plays. How many did you create and how many did you give up? And when you got a guy like James Cook, the possibility of explosive plays become much, much, much more possible just because he has that breakaway game-changing speed that he can utilize to be able to separate away from defenses. And he did a good job at just making that corner miss on that play right there and taking it all the way down the field for a touchdown. When you thought you'd have seen it all, man, when you thought that you'd have seen it all, I guess they say at this point we've tried everything else to try to get this guy on the ground. The only thing that we have not tried that to get him on the ground is to pull him down by his dreads. So once again, man, he showcases that that burst, that playmaking ability to be able to hit those holes for one, and even the vision, because it looked like he was going outside at first. Once he seen where the positioning was in terms of leverage, he bounced it back inside and was able to separate. But then, like I say, once again, man, just showcasing the level of balance, and toughness, to be having your hair yanked like that. Like, look at how that pulled his head backwards. Like, the way he was pulling his dress is almost like he was trying to pull James Cook's helmet and make it touch the back of his shoulder pads. So he was able to power through. Let's take another look at that one more time. Look at this. Look at that. And then you got to think about it. He was falling to the ground while doing that. So that was his body weight was pulling down on him as he was pulling his dreads back. But he was able to fight through it and able to to be able to stay on his feet and score a touchdown. And for those who may be wondering, yes, that is legal. Whenever it comes to having long hair like dreads and things of that nature that hangs out of the helmet, that is classified as part of your uniform. So they can pull you down by your dreads. But James Cook just showcased that even sometimes trying to pull me by my dreads ain't enough to get me on that ground. So right here on this play, man, once again, man, he showcases his physicality to be able to drag this pile, right? So once again, we're going to elaborate on what Coach Belichick say. When it comes to running backs, when we're evaluating them, we want to look at what can you do on your own? And like I always do, y'all always know the line that I use, being able to play off script. What can you do once things don't go the way that you practice them to go? Because there's no way that you mean to tell me when we drew this play up that we was practicing. Exactly the way that this play was executed is how we practiced. Absolutely not. So he does a good job at, once again, man, hitting the hole fearlessly and just being able to run through tackles, man. That's like one of the biggest things that I'm seeing, man. This, to me, he's one of the most versatile backs that I would have to say that's in the National Football League as of right now, man, to be able to have that breakout speed, that explosiveness to create those explosive plays, those 20-yard, 30-yard runs, but then being able to, when needed, make those 3-yard runs, those 5-yard runs, those tough runs in between the tackles when we got to have a situation. And he does a good job at being able to execute on both of those. And you saw that right here, him being able to take what should have maybe been a max, let's just say maybe a 5 to 6 yard gain and pick up a first down. That just shows, like I say, once again, the physicality, and that just shows the balance to be able to stay on his feet. So right here, man, we have another gotta have it situation. I'm not quite sure the down and distance, but the reason why I say gotta have it because when you're in the red area, man, you want to come up with points, whether that's a touchdown or whether that's a field goal. So every time you get in the red area, it technically is a gotta have it situation in every single down, whether it's first, second, third, and fourth. So once again, Coach Belichick always stresses that whenever it comes to evaluating running backs, we want to see what can you do on your own. And right here, he does a good job at showcasing that because just like the commentators were saying, every offensive lineman, for the most part, was out leveraged. It was nothing but red, and he was able to get to the edge, beat them to the edge, and still get a touchdown. That's what, and run, once again, like I said, too, run through arm tackles, man. Just showcasing that balance to be able to stay on his feet when you got 200-some-pound guys pulling and tugging at your legs. So right here, this is another example of what can you do on your own. Right here, the corner, recognized that it was a run play. So he did a good job at recognizing it and tried to come back downhill and make a tackle against James Cook. But one-on-one in open space, 9 times out of 10, James Cook comes up with that with the victory in that situation right there. And I kind of look at this like kind of how we will use it when we talk about receivers. Can you win when we get those one-on-one matchups? Can you win those number one matchups consistently now? I'm not talking about one time, 2 times. I'm talking about over the course of a however many 17-game season, depending on how more than that if you go into the playoffs and if you go to the Super Bowl. When we get those opportunities to have those one-on-one matchups, can you make those plays? Can you come out victorious more times than not on that? And that's another category when we evaluate running backs that we put, and that kind of falls back up under that. What can you do on your own? All right, man, so we're going to end the video off with this. So we all remember this play from the AFC Championship game, man. This is just one heck of an effort. Once again, now this is something that I didn't address, and I'm glad that just popped up on my mind. When I'm evaluating players for me, one of the biggest things that jumps off the screen to me is the level of effort, right? And the effort kind of can fall into the category of what can you do on your own? Meaning that when things don't go as planned, can you still make plays happen? So that in a sense can go up under effort, but you also want to throw that word effort up there just to let people know the significance in it. So you look at this play right here in the AFC Championship game, man, once again, which is the story, which is the name of the story and breaking down film on him. You had 2 guys that had an opportunity to get him and wasn't able to. The first one was Reed. He was able to recognize that it was a run and leave off of his man and try to come make a play. And then you had I think that's Bolton, number 32, which is the linebacker, come and try to give a second effort with hitting him, and he's still able to keep his body in a good balanced position, and then just have the wherewithal to extend the ball to be able to get the touchdown. Because if he didn't extend that ball, then obviously he was short, and he was able to get that extended as he was going down to the ground. So even if his knees would have hit the ground at the time or before he was able to, he would have been classified as down, and that would have been a loss of down, and that would have been very bad for Buffalo to be able to get to that position and not put up any points. But he was able to give that valiant second, man, I might even say third effort to be able to cross to cross the goal line and be able to score points on that, man. So just heck of an effort on him. I know that I've been seeing people been talking about that the Buffalo should pay this dude, James Cook, and from what I've seen, I believe so too, because it looks like a lot of things that they do offensively works around him, and it also looks like if it wasn't for him, it would have been a lot of plays that possibly would have been left on the field that they might not have got to be able to put them in the position that they were at. But for me, like I said, tremendous back, man. Incredible balance, incredible strength, incredible vision, and incredible effort, man. Just high effort player that's not settling for being stopped or denied originally. Even if he's denied originally, he's going to give it a second chance. If he gets denied a second chance, he's going to give it a third chance. So that's something that you don't see in a lot of players, and that's a sign of a guy who loves the game for one, but a guy who has that level of grit and toughness that you want to build around. But let me know what you guys think about him in the comments. Buffalo Bills fans, let me know what y'all think. Do y'all think that y'all should sign him, or do y'all think that we're based off the offensive line y'all got, that y'all will still have somewhat of that productivity? You know what I mean? And the thing that we also have to look at too is that I'm assuming that majority of the snaps from a running back perspective he probably took. So you got to think about the durability in terms of him being able to stay as healthy as he was, to be able to be, to be on the field every time that they needed him. So that's another thing you got to tip your hats off to him for as well. But man, like I said, that is it for this video. If you did enjoy this video, do me a big favor, smash that thumbs up button. Also, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. When you subscribe, make sure that notification bell is on, and where you be notified every time I upload. And I'll see y'all in the next video.